it ain't going to work. This thing just shouldn't be this hard. Simmons is hurt, and Embiid doesn't get along with him, and Simmons can't shoot. Break up the band, get a bunch of pieces, and start over.
Where Colin was wrong.
I still think the Clippers are the better team, but their defense is getting worked by Dallas. If you look at all the analytics, it looks like Clippers should win this series in about 5 games. Dallas is fun and feisty and can score. But I'll tell you, the Mavericks are getting penetration. They're getting tons of open looks. There's times Luka just looks too strong for anybody for the Clippers to guard. You know, Patrick Beverley's been gone for 3 games, but that's something, but it's not that much. Dallas's offense is consistently beating a Clippers defense, and I did not think that would be the case. I thought this would be, 117, 111, and the Mavericks would be getting low percentage shots and not getting penetration, and it's just been the opposite.
Where Colin was right.
Never bought into Jarrett Stidham. The other network, every analyst told you, oh, Jarrett Stidham is the guy. And I'm like, I watched him in college. He's okay. I don't get it. If Bill Belichick watched Jarrett Stidham for a year and still wanted 43-year-old Tom Brady back, what does that tell you? He's had a poor camp. There's one story out today. He didn't get in good enough shape, so he's got a leg injury because he's overexerted himself. We don't know if that's true, but that's one report. In the end, though, it really hasn't been much of a quarterback competition. Cam Newton has dominated it. And all I'm saying is, I watched him in college. He's got something, decent arm, but I never bought into these reports that this was the future. He's a backup in the NFL, and that's what it looks like he'll be this year.
Where Colin was wrong.
I liked when the Ravens went and got Earl Thomas. He could still play. I think their secondary is unbelievable, but this thing backfired and pretty quickly. Stories came out today that last year multiple times he was a headache. So I got to take a wrong on it, and he's not a victim here. He's had Pete Carroll and John Harbaugh, and he can't make either work at the end. So I got the Ravens as 16-0. This doesn't help my case. Lamar Jackson's a little tweaked as well, but that part I'm fine with.
Where Colin was right?
Listen, Russell Westbrook is talented and dynamic and fun. Valuable? Houston leads OKC 2-1. It should be 3-0 in the series. What's interesting is Houston's offensive efficiency rating in the regular season was 112. Their offensive efficiency rating in the bubble, in the playoffs, is 112. You can be great and popular and dynamic and athletic, and he's been a great supporter, and he played defense in the bubble. I just don't buy into the valuable thing. I think I've seen a lot of Russell Westbrooks in my years watching the NBA. Unbelievably gifted, a first ballot Hall of Famer, but doesn't necessarily make teammates better, and Houston's offense is fine without him.
Where Colin was wrong.
Kind of shocked how effective Dwight Howard has been for the Lakers this year. Rebounds, totally accepted his role, not looking for attention. When they bring him in, he's often the second best Laker off the bench. You get size, athleticism, rebounding, shot blocking, situational offense. LeBron likes him. They have a good chemistry on the court. And I always thought he was a little bit of an unfocused, a little juvenile at times, kind of underachieved for all his talent. He's been great here. He's one of the reasons the chemistry has been unbelievable. And he's become a fairly dependable bench player on a nightly basis. Good against Portland so far.
Where Colin was right.
Chris Middleton, 11 points a game, shooting 32%. 12 made buckets in the playoff series. 2 points last Thursday. Like, this is one of these, I don't get it. Like, this is why I think the Bucks are not going to win championships. I've said this. I think Giannis is amazing. They're probably this year the best team in the East, especially after the Celtics had an injury to Gordon Hayward. But Chris Middleton, this is the playoffs are truth serum. The real stars rise in the playoffs. Paul George, a little fool's gold here. Chris Middleton, a lot of fool's gold. Don't buy it.
Where Colin was wrong.
I've been open to spring football. It's not ideal, but I think you could have kids play in January, February, and then have them play in September. But Urban Meyer came on the show and said, nope, can't do it. It's not fair to the players. Nick Saban said it'd be JV football. The Big Ten this weekend said, we're going to do spring football, but we're going to play indoors. Oh, boy. So every game's a road game for every team? I didn't think spring football would be great, but I thought, if it's on television in January, February, March, I'll watch. It'll be cold weather for just the Big Ten, but increasingly the top coaches are against it. And, if the Big Ten, who's for it, is saying we do think you have to play the games indoors. Okay, now that's like exceptions on the exception. Like if you were playing in the bubble in Orlando and you had to wear a mask as you played in the bubble, okay, then just cancel the season. Okay, like if you're having to jerry rig all this stuff and fewer games and now play indoors, then it's probably not going to work.
Where Colin was right.
Giannis today will mark his third early start of 4 playoff games. The NBA is telling you he's not the face of the league, and he's been around for 7 years, and he's been great for 4. He's a great kid. He's a terrific player. But I'm sorry, his documentary and his Instagram does not make him a face of the league. Zion is somebody the NBA has 3 times already moved the schedule around to get him on TV. The NBA is putting Giannis for the 3rd time in 4 games on 1 o'clock Eastern. Leagues will tell you and networks will tell you where the stars are. And you know where the stars are in the NBA? Playing at night. That's where the stars are in all sports. Playing regularly in prime time because that's where the ad dollars are better.
Where Colin was right.
The NBA draft lottery is a lot of fun, but it's useless. They do it to avoid tanking and to help smaller markets, and neither works because teams still tank in the smaller markets. Do you know the last 11 lottery winners? Cleveland 3 times, Minnesota twice, New Orleans twice, Phoenix, Washington, and Philly, and they're all a mess. I'll go back and say something I've always felt about the NBA lottery. Let the players decide where they want to play. And you think it's crazy. But with a salary cap, they couldn't go to the great teams. They couldn't go to the Lakers. They couldn't go to the Clippers. Where are they going to fit them in Boston? If you let players select teams, many players would say, I want to go to the bad team because I want to make the most money. And open up their contracts, let them make more money. This will never happen, of course. But the NBA lottery, once again, we had a lousy franchise win the lottery again, and they'll be lousy next year as well and the year after. All right, Colin right, Colin wrong. Tim Hardaway's son's playing for the Mavs, playing well. He's a great former NBA player. A lot of years for the Miami Heat is right around the corner for us. Howie Long, Matt Mosley will join us, some Cowboy stuff and some Maverick stuff. I contend a lot of the Mavericks series is just Luka. The kid's unbelievable. He's the best 21-year-old maybe ever. Michael Jordan wasn't this good in the NBA. Michael Jordan was still in college, I think, at that point. What was Michael Jordan, 22 years old, his first year in the NBA? Luka just turned 21. Can't stop him. When it comes to scoring great hires for your business, it can be a complicated world. These days, you could be up against some obstacles. You can't interview people live. You can't meet for dinner. You're not in the same city. They can't get to you traveling. But trying to ensure workplace safety has made hiring difficult for a lot of people. That's where ZipRecruiter comes in. It doesn't matter what the industry is. Healthcare, manufacturing, business service, does not matter. ZipRecruiter.com/herd. It's an